Something else we're talking about this week is equivalent fractions. Now, according to Google, equivalent fractions are fractions that may look different but have the same value. To kind of help explain that, why don't you guys follow me to the kitchen?
Okay, we are going to learn how to make tacos today. Just kidding. I actually have 2 tortillas here, and we are going to pretend that these are actually quesadillas because Indiana loves quesadillas, and we are talking about equivalent fractions. So, this quesadilla, I'm going to cut it into 4 equal parts. I probably shouldn't have positioned it over the handle. Okay. 4 equal parts. Now this tortilla I'm going to cut into 8 equal parts. So when I'm dividing a circle or a square into fractions, I kind of like to start by cutting them in half, and then cutting them in half, and then cutting them in half again. And that way I can kind of make sure that they are, my parts are roughly pretty equal. There's always going to be some human error. All right, equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are fractions that have different denominators, so 4 and 8, but the numerator represents the same amount of the whole. So, for example, if we are pretending these are quesadillas, if Indiana ate 2/4 of this quesadilla, you also might be thinking that he ate half of that quesadilla, which 2/4 and 1/2 are equivalent. How many 8s would he need to eat to have 8 the same amount, to have 8 an equivalent fraction? He would have needed to have eaten 1, 2, 3, 4. 2/4 is equivalent to 4/8.
Hopefully that was a little bit helpful. Now, in addition to equivalent fractions being represented by images, by pictures, they can also be represented just by numbers. And one of the sheets in your packet this week is going to do just that. Okay, let's look at the first one. Victor has 2 fraction models. Each is divided into equal-sized sections. The models are shaded to represent the same fraction. Model A is divided into 6 sections and 3 sections are shaded. Model B is divided into 12 sections. What do you know about the number of sections shaded in Model B? Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to draw a picture to represent those fractions. So the first one I'm going to divide into 6. And it told me that 3 were shaded in. Okay. Now my second one is divided into 12 sections. Goodness. And you may be asking yourself, Mr. Zoltz, how can you divide these circles into 6 and 12 so easily? Well, I used to work at a pizza place, so I'm used to cutting circles into fractions. All right. So if I look at this one, I can see that 3 6 are shaded in, which it kind of looks like that's half of the circle is shaded in. So if I were to shade half of this one in, I would see that that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 3, 6 equals 6 12ths. Now back to the question in this problem. What do you know about the number of sections shaded in Model B? If I'm looking at these numbers and these fractions and trying to look at and see some sort of relationship between them two, or somehow something, I kind of notice that, well, 6 is 2 times 3, and 12 is 2 times 6. So I could say that, I'm not going to write it all because it will take forever, but I could say something like the amount shaded in Model B is twice the amount shaded in Model A.